Yeah.
Is it better to make your own milk at home or buy the ready products? And you buy the ready products with a lot of chemicals in it. So what's the solution?
Good question. That's a good question. Okay, so in Canada, you can buy organic soy milk that has B12 and calcium and vitamin D added in the soy milk. In the UK, the laws are different. You can't call it organic if you add B12, vitamin D, and all these kind of things in there. Okay? So first of all, the studies that show benefits of soy are done with like regular soy that's available in the market. It's not organic soy. So the studies that are showing these anti-cancer benefits and heart benefits and bone benefits is just regular soy. So the regular soy that's in the market that may have used some pesticides and those kind of things on there is still very healthy. And if you can get the organic version, that's probably even better. But eventually what we need an organic version that has vitamin B12 and calcium and everything added in there. So right now in the UK, I kind of recommend the one that's with the calcium and everything added in. And unfortunately, it's not the organic one. But eventually, you'll get the organic one with the B12 and all that stuff. Now, if you make it at home, that's really great. But just remember to get other sources of calcium. So you can even get some calcium powder added in there or get calcium in other ways. But make sure you're getting your 700 milligrams of calcium. And have your own soy milk at home. That's also good. But also take your B12 and take your vitamin D and all that kind of things. Because it's unfortified soy milk in that case. You understand what I mean? Yeah? And but eventually we'll have like organic soy milk that is fortified. But if you want to make it at home, that's also really great. Just make sure you're getting those other things. Okay? Both ways are good. Okay? Remember, the milk is full of chemicals, probably even much more chemicals. Because people criticize soy for being GMO or all that kind of stuff, but the milk is even worse. And a lot of the marketing of soy, saying that soy is bad, the meat and dairy industry is multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. Tens of billions of dollars. And then when people start drinking soy milk, they're losing millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. So what they do is they spend a lot of money to put all throughout the internet that soy is bad for you, because that's their major competition. So I'm not saying you have to have soy, but I'm saying that it's a very convenient and very good food. So much research has been done on soy compared to done on kidney beans or dur dal or any of those kind of things. You know what I mean? We have so much research showing these benefits, so I emphasize it a bit more. Probably the other lentils and mug and all that stuff maybe has all the same benefit, but make sure you're eating enough to get that same amount of protein. And don't just eat soy, always eat a mix of foods, because the mix of foods, everyone has something special to probably contribute, right? So I don't need to overemphasize it. So. Yeah.
Hi Kushal,
Hey.
great talk.
Thank you.
I just wanted to know about other milks. Like I know you just brought it partly answered the question, but
Right.
how about almond milk and coconut and almond milk?
So things like almond milk and all those kind of things, they basically don't have any protein, right? And when we're taking milk out of our diet, we want to replace it with something else that also has an equivalent amount of really good protein. And soy is the one milk that has that. So if you really don't like soy, then go for those other milks. Or you can have some of them too. But just make sure overall that you're getting all your nutrients in the required amounts. You don't have to have soy milk, you can try those other ones. I think soy is better for the reasons I stated. And the other ones, they don't have protein. That's one thing that they're really missing. Coconut milk, has saturated fat in it. And as I said, coconuts, we don't really know what the long-term effect of coconut fat is. Even though they're saying it's really good on the internet everywhere, we don't have any research that it's good. It may be harmful because there is saturated fat, although it may not be as bad as animal saturated fat. We just don't know. So limit the amount of coconut fat for now until we have good research showing something one way or the other. A little bit is okay, because some foods it's nice to have it, but don't go overboard.
If you look at South Indians, they don't seem to have like major or this heart issues, and they're generally quite.
Well, you have to do the statistics. You have to look at you have to go to South Indian hospitals, look at people of high socioeconomic status, control for various factors, and find out what percentage of people are getting heart disease and all kinds of stuff. I mean, where I work in Toronto, I see a lot of South Indians, they have a lot of heart disease too, so it's hard to know because sometimes we just don't even have statistics, we just have an impression. But we don't want to go on impression, as I mentioned from the first slide, with that Mr. Singh and Mr. Ander, right? Yes.
You mentioned like cancer, diabetes, things like that. Thyroid, underactive thyroid, overactive thyroid.
Thyroid.
Big things.
Right, thyroid. So.
What would you recommend for?
Okay, so what do I recommend for thyroid? So the question is, what about thyroid problems? Okay, so it is shown that people who are vegan and people who consume soy have a slightly less percentage of thyroid problems. Okay, basically the most common, there's many forms of thyroid problems, But the most common form of that low thyroid that so many people get when they're on thyroid medication, that's sort of a common form, which is a form of Hashimoto's thyroiditis. But that is about 25% less in vegans than people who consume soy. But you got to remember a few things. You got to make sure in in Europe, you're getting, or in North America too, you're getting enough iodine. Because if you don't get enough iodine, let's say you switch to soy, which doesn't have iodine in most cases, and now you take, the milk had iodine in it. Now you can have a problem because you're not consuming iodine. So make sure you're getting your iodine supplement. All other things, like in North America, we don't have that problem. The iodine is in the salt. So you switch to soy milk, purely good for the thyroid. The other thing is if you are taking thyroid pills, some foods absorb the thyroid medication and then you poop it out. Okay, the fiber in that food may absorb it. So soy absorbs some of the thyroid medication. Same with some other foods. So when you take your thyroid medication, let's say you take it at breakfast, have the same kind of breakfast every day. Or maybe take it an hour before breakfast. And then when you eat, then the food you eat doesn't affect so much the thyroid medication. But soy is one of the things that's known to sort of stick kind of like a glue to some of the thyroid medication. So it doesn't cause the thyroid problem, it just affects the medication absorption levels. Okay, so those are a couple of things to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you can still get, even if you have soy, you can still have a thyroid problem because it only protects you 25% of the time, maybe. Up to 25%. Yes.
Soy product and dairy products are good. What about textured vegetable?
The textured vegetable protein. So what happens when you have a textured vegetable protein? You're removing more and more of the whole food aspect and getting more and more into a processed food. So textured vegetable protein is the soy chunks that you get that are dry. They're probably good for you, better than meat, but they're probably not as good as soy milk, which is like 90% of the soybean is in there. And they're probably not as good as, like, let's say edamame. Edamame is the soybeans, which you steam them and eat them. That's probably the best way of consuming soy altogether, right? So the further away you get, and the soy products that you have in the UK, there's these soy hot dogs. Some of them have 100 grams will have 19 or 20 grams of fat and only like 9 grams of protein. And there's another one that will have, per 100 grams, will have 30 grams of protein and only 6 or 7 grams of fat. So watch which one you're consuming. Use the one that's low fat and high protein. That one's gonna be better. There's one called tofurkey. It's generally made out of organic soybeans. In North America, I think it'll be the same over here. The one thing is they're a little bit higher in sodium, so if you're eating those products, don't add any salt on top of it, because it's already kind of high in sodium. That's one thing about it. Yep. I think this gentleman had a question. For sure. Did you have a question? You had your hand up?
Yes, I want to ask if a vegan diet can be tailored to improve the digestive problems.
What kind of digestive problems?
Weak digestion. I can't remember the name of the term, but it's enzymes are not enough enzymes are produced in the body.
Well, there's so many things about the digestive system. One, a vegan diet is not going to cure every single thing, but it's good for a couple of things. Constipation is a pretty common problem. Okay, vegan diets, a proper vegan diet, will have a lot more fiber, and so that's better for your bowels. Okay. So it's better to have that high fiber diet. It's going to be less constipation. It's good for you, and it has some other benefits too. Diverticulitis is a colon condition where you get degradation of the wall of the colon, the large intestine. That happens less in people who are eating more fiber, and happens less in vegans too. So you have a high fiber, lots of fruits and vegetables, combination of raw and semi-cooked foods, those kind of things, whole grains. Like I said, very good for your colon health as well. And there may be some other benefits, but I don't have necessarily the scientific answer for all of those things like enzymes and stuff like that. I don't have a scientific answer for that. Yeah.
If one is observing a vegan diet,
Yeah.
and also suffering from gout,
Yeah.
it has been advised that they must not consume legumes.
Legumes.
and beans.
Very good question.
So
Yeah.
how is soya beans then?
Okay. So gout is caused, they think gout is caused by foods that are high in something called uric acid. Gout is basically a problem where you get a lot of uric acid in the body. I'm oversimplifying it, it's more complex than this, but you get a lot of uric acid in the body, and then uric acid crystals can form in the joint, like the toe, the big toe or the knee or something like that. And it's extremely painful when you get this uric acid crystals. Maybe people don't all know what gout is, but it's a very, very painful condition. So if you have it, it's very painful. And these uric acid problems can cause some other difficulties as well besides the joints. Now, foods that are high in uric acid, especially organ meats and various types of meats, they tell you not to eat that. But also legumes, beans and lentils and soybeans and all that stuff, they're also actually high in uric acid. And the doctors have traditionally told people not to consume beans and lentils. But there's one really big paper that came out a couple years back, and a friend of mine from medical school actually worked on that paper, basically showing that people who are eating the most beans and lentils actually had less gout, which shows how the mechanisms of disease are not very simple all the time. They're complex. You know, that beans and lentils, for whatever reason, were not causing gout. In fact, they were reducing the amount of gout that people had, despite the fact that they had high content of uric acid, including soybeans. Okay? Now, soy milk, I'm not sure if that form of soybeans has high uric acid. It may be less than soy milk because there's some processing that occurs, maybe some of it's removed, you know, but I'm not sure. I think we have to look that up. I don't want to give you a hard and fast answer. But generally, this is one good paper showing that people consume, generally, you know, beans, legumes are actually having protection from gout.
So I can continue with my dal and the rest.
I think you can. But you know, there's other factors like fat intake, fried foods. That study showed that meat and dairy intake actually increased gout and things like that as well. So I think having a healthy, broad-based diet, drinking lots of fluids, all those things, proper fruits and vegetables. Remember not too much sugar. Remember juice. Juice is not a whole food. Don't drink orange juice or apple juice. Eat oranges, eat apples, right? Doing all those things. And then, you know, you'll probably be successful. Find that paper online. They put gout and like that. You'll probably find it. Show it to your doctor as well. You know. Yes?
Thank you very much, I really enjoyed the talk. I've always been one who's considered the less violent ahimsa types of milk, but I think that this talk and another one I've heard before has given me some food for thought. And just something I was thinking about just while you were talking, even within the Jain diet, the healthiest diet is considered Ironbell, where dairy is part of the things that are given up, and I think that's just another thing that I feel perhaps adds to the value of the talk, even from the ancient philosophies. This is potentially another area that supports all the medical evidence that's just been shown. So I just wanted to add that really.
Yeah, thanks for that comment. I think that people are generally compassionate, even people who eat meat. Everybody's generally a compassionate person, but we get stuck in our ways, we get addicted to things that we like and so forth, you know, and so we have contradictions within ourselves, right? And people often want to have a more compassionate form of milk. In India, they really try hard, but there's just a lot of things happening behind the scenes that they just don't even know. And they kind of don't want to know. Part of them don't want to know it because they like the food that they eat. And organic, remember all the organic dairy that you get over here, the animals can be treated horribly, and in the end, even if they're treated nicely for some time, they're all going to be slaughtered as well, right? Organic, the same problem happens. So that's a good thing. And when you talk about Ironville in the Jain diet, it's true. You know, like it's a form of temporary veganism in the Jain diet as well. Although during that time you may not be consuming like fresh fruits and vegetables as well, which we know are so good for us. But it's something to consider and think about. And you know, none of these things are necessarily perfect. You know, nothing is perfect. I think Jainism is amazing, but I don't think it's perfect, right? And we always have to be actively thinking. Like when it comes to Jainism or any religion really, you know, I always sort of think that there's dogma or there's philosophy. The word religion is actually the Western world, right? But in India we use the word dharma. And dharma, if you would translate it, doesn't translate to the word religion, it translates to the word spiritual philosophy and way of life. Which means that you have to be thinking all the time. You don't just follow rules and memorize the rules and that's it, you know, and pretend that they're good. That's when we run into problems. Doesn't matter what religion it is, we run into problems. But when people are philosophizing and thinking, then you can sort of make intelligent decisions. And there's always going to be discussion and debate, some disagreements, that's okay, right? But it's very important to be a philosophy as opposed to a dogma, which just says, here's the rules, follow it, what we think. You're not allowed to debate or anything like that. So I think when it comes to diet, the same things apply. Yeah.
Thank you for an interesting talk. I've got a couple of questions. One is there are few children in the audience, and some of them good children. Is there an age restriction when you should start a vegan diet for the children?
No. Right from pregnancy to, you know, babies, everybody can be vegan. But you just have to make sure of the things, like that book was saying, you're getting the right amount of calcium, B12, protein, maybe omega-3s, vitamin D, and all those things, your iron, all of those things have to be up to date. And even meat eaters don't always have them up to date. It's not like they have those things, we all have to be careful and to optimize things for kids. Right now, most kids around the world are suffering from obesity and stuff like that. And even kids are getting diabetes in their teenage years. I see kids coming to the emergency department with diabetes because they're just eating all these foods so much of these animal-based foods, and it's not helping, or fried foods or even junk foods, even if they're vegan. So we have to be careful, but you can have excellent healthy pregnancies, babies, and children for sure.
Okay, thank you. The other thing is we talked about benefits of vegan or vegetarian diet. Are there any side effects?
Like bad side effects?
Any side effects?
I think if people are not following a diet properly, then they can get a bad side effect. Like I mentioned before, some people, they cut out all these foods, and now all of a sudden their level of calories is very low, and they're getting too skinny. Or some people eating pasta 3 times a week because they don't know what else to eat. They haven't sort of experimented with different recipes. Or you see some people eating junk food all the time. They're just eating vegan junk food. That's not proper. So those kind of things. Or they take away milk, but they don't put another protein in its place, right? So they switch over. They take milk. They were getting 20 grams of protein from milk. They took it away. They put rice milk or almond milk, and now they're 20 grams of protein in the minus compared to before. That's not good. So if we're doing it properly, it should be no side effects. The side effects you should notice are just improvements.
And also not supplementing.
What's that?
And not supplementing also.
B12.
Yeah.
They're forgetting to take the B12, let's say. Or in the case of here, iodine is in the milk. So we have to get our iodine some other way. So, just those are the things that you have to watch out for. But otherwise, there should be no side effects. Your side effects should be that you feel better. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
As a vegan, obviously you're concerned you're not getting enough protein. What if you replace, because not everybody gets a chance to eat grains or kottor every day, replacing it with protein powder?
Yeah, you can have vegan protein powders. I don't think you need vegan protein powders. I think you should be eating, like people in the West sometimes they don't know how to eat beans. Like in North America, Canada, they don't even know what mug is, They have to learn. And they have to learn how to eat beans and this and that and this and that. Of course, soya is always there, but I don't want people to eat only soya. I want them to mix it up. And the whole grains and the whole grain bread and those kind of things will also have protein. And all these brown rice will also have protein. Have a combination of things. It's not difficult to get your protein. You just have to be aware. There was one young lady who had a question. She never, yeah. Yes, it was you.
Hi, thank you for your talk. My question is around, there's quite a lot on the web for a lot of the whole food desserts and treats, ways of transforming your traditional desserts into vegan desserts,
right,
and perhaps even healthier ones without sugar, processed sugar, things like that. So they use natural sweeteners such as maple syrup and dates. Would you say, a lot of the internet, things that you read on the internet is very much about, it's fine, you can have as much as you want, whereas my question is, can you actually...
Okay, so that's a very good question. Dates, agave is another thing, palm sugar, it's all sugar. If it tastes equally sweet, it's sugar, okay? Now, dates are good for you, but if you're having so much as we have in some of these desserts, then it's just sugar in the body. Okay, so don't listen to that too much. They like these little things. Now, a little bit of that stuff, once in a while, you're gonna have a sweet. Once in a while, you're gonna have some of these things. But just keep it limited, okay? That's the main thing. But that's a good question. And another thing, ghee. A good substitute for ghee is flaxseed oil or linseed oil. It's where your flax is called linseed, right? Flaxseed oil tastes a lot like ghee. So if you really want ghee flavor on something, use a little bit of linseed oil or flax oil.
We do one more question.
One more question. Was it one more question? I think.
Is it scientifically true that beans and legumes cause a lot of gastric? So
okay, that's a good question. And people think that the question is, you get a lot of gas from beans and legumes. Now, you can have more gas forming from vegetables, from various vegetables, and also from beans and legumes. Okay, but usually it's just a question of adjusting your.
Sorry, no, carry on.
Which one it is?
Carry on.
This one here. But it's just an adjustment process. So people who don't consume a lot of that stuff maybe have an adjustment to make. Now that gas is good. It's because the bacteria, these new bacteria, are eating those beans and legumes, so the fiber going into your system, and that's actually good for you. But what I recommend is taking a probiotic. There's some vegan probiotics that have get one that has 12 or 15 different types of bacteria. Eat it with your food, maybe once a day or a couple times a day with food for like a couple of days, and it should give you lots of good bacteria, and then that will often solve a lot of the problem. Because we just haven't gotten used to it, we haven't developed the right bacteria. And sometimes we get gassy, because we're traveling and not sleeping enough and different things in our diet. So then we can, just use a probiotic to help readjust a little bit quicker. I think that's one good way. Body adjusts and probiotic. I think that's the time we have for questions. Sagar is going to take over now and just say a few parting words and announcements.
Cool. So we've just